Welcome to the Meet Your Mentor podcast. I'm so glad to have you all here with me today. If you're coming back for another episode, then welcome back. For those of you who are first-time listeners and don't know much about me, my name is Elise, and I will be your host for today. I am officially a junior in high school, and I'm interning at the Mentor Project, which has been so much fun to do. As for this podcast, each week I will be interviewing one of our world-renowned mentors and asking about their job, some advice they may have, what it means to be a mentor, and so much more. Quick shout out to our listeners and our sponsors for making this podcast possible. Now, I think you guys will really enjoy what we have in store for you today. Today, I get to interview Justin Thompson. Justin is currently the senior artist at the Charles Schulz Studio in Santa Rosa, California, and has his own comic strip called Myth Tickle, which is now in its 13th year of syndication with Universal Press Syndicate. He has illustrated more than a dozen children's books, including a few of his own, and was one of the first American artists to paint a mural in Havana, Cuba since the Revolution. Justin is also an accomplished Shakespearean actor, storyteller, improv performer, and stuntman who has been thrown over tables, fought on daytime soap operas, and battled bad guys in live stunt shows. He has just been brought to the Mentor Project to help bring visual arts and cartooning into the Mentor Project's arsenal of education and study. Without further ado, let me introduce you all to Justin. I'm so excited to hear more about you.
Thank you, Elise.
Yeah. So aside from that, obviously, relatively detailed intro, can you just tell us a little bit more about yourself and how you got started with this?
Well, I was in a program for the last 7 or 8 months called Relational Mastery. And it's a lot about how to work with people who are different types than you are, and how to understand people better, communicate better, and just get people more, and feel into their personalities, so that you can just better function through life, through the office, anything like that. It's kind of a deep dive into probing and understanding people's motivations and mentalities. So I've been working that program for a while, and with me in that program was a woman called JJ Snow, who we got to be good friends through that. And she found out all of the things that I did and my teaching experience that I've had, and said, you'd be perfect for this thing. And it sounded wonderful. The Mentor Project, I'm so excited about it. It sounds like everything that I've done, all these strange avenues that I've gone down in my life has culminated into this one thing that I'm going to do for the rest of my life, hopefully. I can use all that I've learned and apply it to this. And I'm just so excited about it because it justifies all of the nonsense that I went through with fighting on soap operas and doing improv work and reading stories to children and all the cartooning work and even this program that I just did with the interpersonal relationships. I want to wrap a lot of that learning in with the cartooning to teach not just cartooning, but tuning into people's emotions and feeling other people and how to translate that onto a page through art. So that they kind of get people used to feeling into their drawings and creating from the heart based on what they observe from other people. That's the goal. And I'm creating a program to do that. So it's kind of about cartooning, but not really.
I love that. That's awesome. Actually, for those of you who are listening who've watched this podcast for a little while, I actually interviewed JJ on one of the episodes, so that's kind of funny. But can you talk a little bit more about, was this kind of art and being a stunt double and acting, was that all kind of something you wanted to do from a young age, or did you kind of slowly get into that?
Well, I grew up in the desert in north of Phoenix, Arizona, and horses and stuff, and it was kind of isolated out there. And when I saw Star Wars, I was 15 when that came out, the first Star Wars movie. And I'm like, I'll never forget that scene where Luke is walking around the desert, staring at the sun's set, and wishing for a better, more exciting life. I'm like, that's me completely. I am that guy. And I always dreamed of having an extraordinary life of some kind, doing something special. And just following my heart, and not saying no to things that were brought in front of me as my life went on. I said, yeah, I'll try that. And then I applied myself, and that it just kind of things fell in that way.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I've been lucky to evade a cubicle in my life.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, I don't really know how it all happened, but I really feel it started with me in the desert looking up at the sky going, there's got to be something bigger,
Mm-hmm.
like Luke did. And that's kind of where it began for me. And I pursued that my whole life, something
Gotcha.
adventurous, something artistic. Yeah. And I'm
Yeah.
still doing it.
You are. So was that movie also kind of where the idea of like stunt training came in, or did that just kind of fall into
No,
place later on?
I kind of, if you'll pardon the expression, fell into stunt work because I couldn't make a living as an actor. When I was living in New York City, this was all through the 90s, and
Okay.
it's very, very hard to make a living as an actor there. You audition and you take classes, and you seem like you're just putting money into it.
Mm-hmm.
And by a couple of associations of other actors I met, I was doing a lot of Shakespeare and a lot of sword fighting in that.
Mm-hmm.
And I was a tournament fencer when I was in an undergrad school at Arizona State. So I had a lot of fencing background. I was good with a sword. So they started casting me in more shows where I could fight. And then I got to know people who were strictly fighters and said, I saw you in this. Would you want to fight over here? And so somehow I just fell in with these people who were fighters and stunt guys, and I started making money doing that. So I could still act and make money if I knocked myself around a little bit, which was a small price to pay.
Yeah.
And I felt like, wow, I'm fighting with a sword. This is the best life ever. So yeah, that's kind of how that all came about.
Gotcha. That's very cool. I feel like that kind of just seems almost perfect that just kind of happened upon you almost. I like for people who have been listening for a while and who know me pretty well by now, they know that I am kind of interested in a lot of different areas, and so I'm kind of hoping to have some profession where I'm able to kind of jump around and do a lot of different stuff. But yeah, that's very cool. So so this is a little bit of like shifting gears, but I want to talk a little bit more about like your own comic strip and how that started.
Yeah, I started working. Well, I was a graphic designer in Manhattan. I worked in this place from 99 to 2003. And it was a textile place, and they made bedding and bathroom accessories, but they would put licensed characters on these things. I did all kinds of stuff, from Pink Panther to the Incredible Hulk and G.I. Joe and all that stuff. And I'd take the art from these licenses and put them on designs, like that. And so I did that for a while. And then I moved out to California with my wife and son, who was only 2 then, and tried to get some work. It took a while to find work out here. And the job at Schultz came up. They were looking for somebody who had a background in licensing, who could understand all that for the people who were using peanuts on product. So it just, by accident, I stumbled into that. And it's been great. So, and being in that studio and studying Charles Schultz's work for so long and reading all these peanut strips, Charlie Brown, Snoopy, and all that, I said, I'm going to get my own comic strip going. And it just kind of engendered out of that, and my love of mythology. I take characters from different mythologies that aren't being used anymore, like Greek and Egyptian mythology, and put them all together in one place. And they're kind of young, kind of like kids, and it's just, a little humorous strip. And I don't know. That's my little, I don't make much money out of it, but it's my little creative passion and outlet.
Yeah, that sounds very cool. Interesting. So you're still publishing comics, correct?
Right.
like those?
It's only online.
Okay,
Uh,
that's what I thought.
Soon I'm going to try to put a bunch of those strips together in a book, but that takes a lot of time and money, and
Yeah.
I'm still trying to bank a lot of both, really.
Yeah. So, can you just give us like a little bit of like a synopsis, kind of what it's about?
Well, yeah, I love mythologies, I love world
Yep.
religions, and I love world cultures. So I wanted to do something that combined all of them together. So I've got Thor in there, a little Japanese girl named Karma, because she's kind of the embodiment of a duality, and
Hmm.
there's a dragon and a knight. Those are my two main characters. And I don't know, I've got characters from Egypt mythology and other things all thrown in together. And Africa too. I've got Anansi the spider and a creatrix named Ziva. And I try to be funny.
Hmm.
It's been getting a lot better in the last few years. I'm really hitting my stride with it.
That's good.
And it's at a place called gocomics.com.
Okay.
Look for Mythical there and you'll find it. And it has the whole history of the strip and everything.
Wow, that's cool. So, aside from obviously, um, like the comic and the character art itself,
Mhm.
um, has your biggest kind of struggle with it been developing like the plot for each of them, or what would you say that's been?
The hardest part is trying to think of something funny. I do these long storylines with them only rarely. Like
Okay.
right now, I have a storyline going that's going to last about 3 months that I
Wow.
drew and created back around 2010. I'm just rerunning it for the summer.
Gotcha.
Those take a lot of time, but I've done a few of them. But mostly it's just a gag a day kind of thing,
Mhm.
like
Yeah.
you'd see in the newspaper, just
Gotcha.
little jokes. So the hardest part is thinking of something funny.
Gotcha. Yeah. Last summer, my friend and I actually kind of developed a book idea, and we actually went ahead and wrote part of it. And we kind of discovered that she was better at doing all the non-dialogue stuff, and so I ended up doing some of the dialogue. And so I definitely agree that I was trying to put some of that like humor and like snarkiness that I wanted in there, which was probably the most difficult part for me as well. But
Well, that
yeah.
sounds really good, though.
Yeah, thank you.
Great.
Yeah,
Writing
that
a
was
book is wonderful.
it was definitely a really, really fun experience. So I'm glad I had that. So, my next kind of thing that I want to talk about is once again, I want to shift gears. So obviously you told us a little bit about how you got started with the mentor project, and obviously you're relatively new to it.
Right.
But like, what does it mean to you to be a mentor? And maybe even can you talk a little bit about some of the mentors that you've had in your life?
Wow. Oh, I wish I had this question earlier. Well, I've taught sometimes in my past. I've taught acting, I've taught fencing, and I taught cartooning. The fencing and cartooning I taught at a special school in Hoboken, New Jersey, to kids who were around, I guess, anywhere between 7 and 14. And I don't know. I just get so much out of that. Being in a room with the kids who are learning something that I can teach them.
Mhm.
Um, Whatever I'm giving them, it seems to bounce back and make me just stand a little bit taller,
Yeah.
and I need that. And it's hard to describe, but the feeling that you get inside it's just such a wonderful thing when you exchange back and forth with people like that. You're imparting knowledge, teaching them something that they're going to carry with them for the rest of their lives, that you've had an influence on them. I don't really think of there's anything better than
Yeah.
to be an influence in someone's life. And I think
Mhm.
back on certain teachers that I had, I'll never forget them,
Yeah.
and maybe that's a way of paying something back to them by carrying those memories in my heart for the rest of
Mhm.
my life, something like
Yeah. Yeah.
it's more of an emotional thing than
Yeah.
any kind of a job oriented thing.
Yeah, I've kind of heard similar responses from a lot of mentors, and I feel like that's kind of the common theme, is that it's just very rewarding to be able to pass that
Yeah.
on to like new people who are trying to to learn
Yeah,
different things, obviously.
if I can carry that on and impact children in other parts of the world, I just feel like I'm finally of use to the world somehow. I'm paying back, I'm giving.
Yeah.
And I've been looking for some way to be of service for quite a while now. And it seems like it's finally been answered. This is it.
Yeah. 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 I love that. So talking a little bit more about mentors that you've had, what was kind of one, it doesn't have to be super specific, but one piece of advice or just something that you heard from one of your teachers or mentors, or it could be both, obviously, that really impacted you and that you still kind of think about to this day? I know that's kind of a difficult question. I'm sorry.
It's hard because I'm sure I could come up with something that one of them or a couple of them have told me, but nothing comes to mind right now, even although I'm sure there's a lot. But what I do carry is that they took the time to see something in me that made them stay with me when I didn't feel like I was quite confident myself, or that I feel like I don't know if I can do this. There was something they were getting from me that they knew I could do it, and they pushed me a little harder. And I wound up doing this impossible thing like jousting, let's say, jousted for 10 years on horseback in armor. And I wanted to do it. And learning that was not easy. I grew up riding horses, but that's really only a third of the difficulty of what jousting is. Although it may be the most important thing, but there's so much. And the guy that taught me that really hung in there and kept injecting me with positivity, which isn't something that I always exuded. I battled depression and thinking I wasn't good enough, stuff like that. And I don't know what it was, but I thank him forever for seeing in me something that he trained me to become and made me a better person because of it. So that stick-to-itiveness and believing in somebody when they don't believe it is the thing that I carry the most from my mentors in life.
That's just really inspiring. And someday I kind of hope to be able to also be a mentor and kind of have that impact on people as well. Because I just think it's just kind of incredible that, one person can have that impact on someone else's life. So I don't know, but that's pretty much all I was going to say. My last thing kind of is just, if there's anyone listening or watching who's really interested in you and either wants to, I know you already mentioned the website to go see your comics, but get in contact with you or just learn more about you, where would be the best place to do that?
Oh gosh. I don't really have an about me kind of website.
Okay.
It's really just the strip. But if anybody really wanted to contact me about anything, I guess I could give you my email address, which is justin@mythtickle.com. I'll answer anything you need. I can.
All right. Yeah, definitely. I feel like you have a wide range of knowledge, so you would probably be very insightful on a lot of different things.
As long as it's not math, I can probably talk about it.
Yeah. And, funny enough, we've had other mentors on here who are specifically in math. So if you got a math question, go to them. But yeah, so that's pretty much all I have today. So thank you so much, Justin, for just all of that information and the stories that you've shared. I'm very, very glad we could find a time to make this work. To everyone who's watching or listening, thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you all thought that was interesting and learned as much as I did. So if you want to learn more about Justin, as he said, you can feel free to email him, and I will include the email in the description when this gets converted into a podcast, excuse me. And if you want to learn more about the Mentor Project or me, feel free to go to www.mentorproject.org. I hope to see everyone back here next week. Thank you guys so much. And thank you so much to our sponsors for making this podcast possible. We really appreciate everything you do. So once again, thank you, Justin.
Thank you, Elise. You are great at this.
Thank you so
Great
much.